Hello there. Thank you guys for always tuning in to Benjamin Zulu Show. It is said that marriage is a call to responsibility. And for you to rise up to your responsibility, you must be well equipped. And that is why we are here. Today we are talking about faith. Faith matters when it comes to a responsibility. What happens when you start dating or when you marry a person from a different religion? How do you go about it?
How is that even possible? How do you do that? I don't get it. You know, that you don't say that in the same sentence. Okay, I understand. We are in a diplomatically and politically correct society where we preach inclusion, brotherhood of all humanity, compromise, and understanding, and learning to get along with different kinds of people. Hope I have fear-card your background so that you don't think I'm not up to date. The background is learn to get along with the people of different faiths and religions and different perspectives and to greet. Okay? But when it comes to marriage, you don't come here with the political correctness. Okay. Let us start here. A person who comes from a different religion than you, except for you being two different human beings, you have nothing else in common. The reason is because your belief system affects every aspect of your life, from the food you choose. I'll tell you next time that language, behavior, and culture, the center of culture is your faith. Language sprouts out of where we live, the words we use to communicate. Okay, I've taken you back to philosophy already.
Philosophy class 104.
No, this is 104. So, we used to say evolution of language, culture, how it informs the life we choose. So, today let me just pick the element that you asked me to talk about.
Yes.
The element you have asked me to talk about is faith, religion. People call it religion. One of the things I want you to realize is the following. What you believe about God, about your place, about death, about the purpose of your life, about how you ought to spend your days and to whom you'll have to answer at the end of your days. That affects what you do with your days, how you spend your money, how you raise your children, the food you eat, the language you use, how you flirt with the opposite sex, how faithful and unfaithful you are, how much permission you give yourself to cheat, how you meander around, how you honor your other partner, how you rise up to responsibility, the call to duty, the clarion call, the standard you live by. It's affected by what you believe about your life, about God, the purpose of your life, your world view. So, I'm saying that so that you don't, there are people make it look like your faith is a peripheral issue.
Yeah.
Your opinion about God can vary. It's not an of your existence. Even though try to say that they believe he is there. There's no atheist, my brother. That's just a cover name. Languages to accommodate different groups. In reality, there's a God-shaped hollow in every person, not justified by anything else. But many hate all forms of authority. They hate government, they hate president, they hate any speaker, they hate anybody with power, including God. Do you understand it? You're not the only one with haters, happily. God also. The way you announce and talk on radio, and people will realize that you have influence, they hate it and they insult you. They hate any form of authority.
Yeah.
So the way they have atheists, they should also have anti-authority, success. It's ego, pride. It's pride. If you read the Bible, you realize everybody knows. God has left enough evidence. God left enough to show you that he's around. The way he created you yourself, with your thoughts. All scientists agree that DNA is coded in terms of zeros and ones. Have you heard of that as well in coding language?
Yeah.
those who develop software, they code in terms of zeros and ones. DNA is coded that way. That is evidence of intelligence. Are we together? So it's agreed. General, one of the principles that you may find a few people arguing because they don't understand it fully. But DNA comes from intelligence because it's coded in terms of zeros and ones. There is no other place you get intelligence except a mind. So the conclusion is you are created by a mind. Your DNA designed by a mind. That removes all the Big Bang theory, the evolution. Evolution is things creating themselves because of necessity. It's a big word. Me take you back to definition of terms in philosophy. One of the introductory lessons in philosophy said argument means logic, argument, conclusion. When you have an argument, you start with the logic. What are you based on? Then build your case. Then what's your conclusion? So if you are created from a mind, you cannot have evolved out. Necessity has no mind. It's like saying, because this was heavier and the other was heavier, when they bent, this one pushed the other, it fell off. That's how evolution works. So things that are pushing because of necessity and gravity cannot design your eye. Cannot design your teeth. Cannot design zeros and ones. You understand? There's another principle they cannot explain, that there's no another DNA of Bramwell through existence of the earth. From the time the earth was created, your DNA is unique for all creation. Again, the information created in that DNA you can't see with your eye. If it was printed, it would be many CDs piled up, many books piled up. That thing that you can't see contains so much information. You can't print it in one book. So, I'm just telling that what you're dealing with is not an opinion. It's not a peripheral issue. You cannot say, as long as they don't refuse me from going to church. So let me tell you what happens if you attempt. Some people have attempted. How people end up marrying people of other faiths is because they get entangled emotionally before they reason. If I can help you get this, I will have saved you from trouble. Yourself to reason in every circumstance. People end up getting married. People, they get emotionally entangled through having sex, through getting pregnant, through attraction by proximity.
Yeah.
They work in the same office. They work in the same space. The embodiment talked so much they forgot there's a yawning abyss between them. We all have the same history as humanity, but we have different destinies according to the path we have chosen. So if you marry a person who you don't share faith, soon you realize you don't share anything. Let me repeat that. When you marry a person with whom you don't share faith, soon you realize you don't share anything. Why? Their values about money. They could be a polite person. This could be a very morally upright person. They're not malicious. But why are you telling the kid about praying? Let the child deal with the matter scientifically. Why are you saying this issue we believe? Believe what? Pain. How do you explain? How do they support you apart from cooking you food? When you face death, how do you explain it? And for them it is end and end. Maybe you're becoming a mosquito. People, because many of them, they could not dispute the presence of God because of beauty. Beauty is one reason they cannot explain. Beauty cannot explain. Beauty is fine arrangement to produce aesthetic appeal. You understand? So they call it nature. Nature. When they see the justice of God, they call it karma. They must look for substitute to avoid seeing God. So, when you deal with a person who doesn't know God, who is simply cold about God, who is simply they say they don't believe in anything. Some of them just that person and a cow are in the same place. They are in the forces of nature, controlled by. Even you can't pray for a safe journey. When you see God's great, somebody said the worst part about atheists is that when they are grateful and they have nobody to tell thank you. So one guy called Leakey, he doesn't believe in God. So when he got accident, injured, and then he was healed, he said, I thank God, I thank my money and technology. What is that? He's thanking who? Money and technology. Absurdity. Struggling very hard to deny God. So if you get into a marriage, the person doesn't deny God, you will not agree on how to raise the children.
So, Benjamin, before you continue, you know, matters faith is one thing that most young men and women who are dating never talk about. They just brush it, imagining things will just work out automatically when we settle down.
So I wanted to start with different faiths and I come closer home, different churches.
Yes.
Because there's another fight there. So, please forget your human decency and political correctness when you're dating.
Okay.
Forget it. What if they tell you they will convert? Let them convert first and see whether you are flowing. Don't say when we marry. Because if you have been a Christian, you have been growing for 10 years, and they convert today, are you in the same place? Are you in the same place? They are still in Nazareth school, babysit, and you don't know whether they will stand.
Yeah.
Some people get saved and they retard. That's backslide. Others find the reality. They saw a sword, the seed. Some dry places, sprouted quickly. Others among thorns. Others on the path. Others, not all those who convert thrive. Please don't do dating by evangelism.
Okay.
You evangelize them so that you're going to marry them, my brother. Evangelize them for their soul to be saved. As for you, trust God to give you a wife. And this will be one of your disciples whom you happen to chance upon. And whom you check how she's faring over the years and keep them in your prayer. Praise the Lord. Amen. Not wife. I'm trying to tell you what should happen so that you don't marry them. You know, when you influence a person and they convert, there's usually a bond that develops.
Yeah.
Because you feel good, you have helped guide them through life. Don't take that too far. Let it remain where it belongs. That's a young believer who needs to take milk. His spiritual babes crave spiritual milk. That's what Peter says. But in Hebrews 5:14, strong meat belongs to those who by manner of use have gotten their senses exercised to discern good and evil. There's such thing as experience. Such a thing as growth over the years. Some people have been in Christianity, but they don't grow because they don't do gym. They don't read the Bible. They don't pray. They don't reason. They don't engage. They don't talk to God. They just wanted citizenship to heaven, and that's all. They're waiting for their flight. Otherwise, they're hanging around and checking the watch, waiting. They're not on a mission. Not every Christian is on a mission. Not every Christian is on a mission. Only a few, and I think that's why we are so many on earth. God is trying to replace disobedient Jonas. People have gone to Tarshish, sent them to Nineveh, but they hate the work they were sent to. So they got to enjoy themselves in Tarshish. Clubs are Tarshishes. Some of these amusement parks, and I'm not saying Christians don't be entertained, but many people are looking for another life. Posh cars, posh houses, Tarshish. And I told you the other day, avoid saying you want to live your best life. You can't live your best life in the world that is so much sickness, pain, death, decay. How? Tell me how you're going to live it. There's corona now. Can you go now and enjoy your life? They have closed hotels. So much about your good life. Can you look? It's impossible to have your best life in this earth. It's impossible. You take a flight, don't know whether it will arrive. Terrorist, diseases, pain, accidents, uncertainty. You cannot have a good life on this earth. You cannot. You can only have enough health to perform your calling, enough peace, enough atmosphere. So I want you to ask for houses, cars, clothes that are fit for your calling, uniform to show up to work. That's all you can do on this earth, Brahma. Don't take it too far. Don't expect another thing. You'll be disappointed.
Okay.
Have you seen that South African guy who said to be buried with his Mercedes Benz? Because he was so attached to his possessions, he thought he can go with them. Death should remind you, you're not here to carry anything. Death should remind you that. So one thing I decided, I don't want to say, let me enjoy my life to the fullest. There's a guy who said, I have stocked enough food for many years. Now my heart, relax and eat. Remember that parable? While he was still talking, he was told, you fool. So if you pile up money, pile up this, just to have good life, What will God call you? You fool.
Yeah.
He said, today an account of you be required. Please think of the account of your soul. Bramwell, if there's one thing I've asked God, to never lie in hospital or be delayed by anything so that I can perform my calling every day. That's my yearning. I want to talk to Kenyans. I want to talk to the world. I want to do I realize my calling involves teaching, answering questions of life. I'm so happy, Bramwell. This is my best discovery on earth. I want to stay on that course to the end, Bramwell. Let's just do that, Bramwell. The rest will not mean anything. I want good clothes, of course. What I'm wearing is not bad. I know you don't disagree. I want good house, of course. But that's not my priority. You get the difference. Yeah. So, if you marry a person who does not have what I'm describing, you be getting money, they want a newer car. You get money, they want another house. We already settled these things with my wife. Our purpose on earth is to serve our calling. We will only buy what we need at the time we need it. The rest of the money must go to our calling. We don't have so much money so far to send to charity, but part of our work is to fund charities, help the needy. Of course, we'll have some inheritance for our children, but we're not trying to earn the whole earth for our children. Some people accumulate, they lose the sense of their calling in life. So if I married a girl who doesn't think about God, you see the directions would be very different.
Yeah.
Another thing, they would wonder why you work so hard and you already have enough. Bramwell, you wonder, you see I'm serving my calling, I'm not just gathering money. Philosophy again. Why would you live to just earn living? What's the point? If you only live to pay the cost of living, that's a cycle. You get it? That's a cycle. Then you'd rather not live so that you don't pay the cost. All right? So they call it earning a living because they thought that's the totality of life. In reality, for you, it's not a living, it's fuel for the journey. I need money to fuel my calling. When they brought food to our Lord in John 4, he told them, I have another food you don't know about. My food is to do the will of him who sent me and to complete his work. Bramwell don't die with unfinished work. Joshua grew old and he was told, I know you're old and worn, but look at how much land there is that is yet to be conquered. I don't want that comment in my life. I want only to hear, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with little. If I married a girl who does not believe that, how far shall we go? Let me now bring you, I was telling you that the church, we get attached because we interact with people with different faiths, begin to think we are friends. Chemistry develops, emotional attachments. Let me remind you, the worst interference in your thinking are emotions. Emotions make you human. They are not bad on their own. It's when you don't know when they're interfering with your reasoning. Especially love, connection, infatuation, anger, jealousy, fear, intimidation, impatience. Any emotion that is crowding you makes you see the world in light of that only. Today, if you date a girl who is coming from Buddhism, Islam, and then she likes you, she listens to you. If you observe, you realize that most of our submission is not Bible type. It's from the other side, where she comes from. If it's supposed to be unquestioned obedience, that by the time you convert her to understand that you are not her Lord, her Lord is God, you are just husband. And that you have a faithful, your integrity is about being righteous unto God. So, let's now go to churches. Once you believe in God, both of you, church dictates the details of the direction of your life. For example, there are people who, the Pentecostals, that's a group of churches. I don't expect Pentecostals to fight against each other. Those are just two fools. Deliverance, redeemed, full gospel, many of what they preach is very relatable. They're called evangelicals. If you study history of the church, from the beginning it was Catholic Church only. In fact, that word Catholic in many other texts still means the whole church.
Yeah, universal.
Exactly. I believe in, today when you study the Apostles' Creed, you find the word Catholic there. So some people will not say it thinking it means the Catholic. No. It is simply meant universal. Yeah. So there was that church. Then the Luthers began another branch, which they were labeled because they are protesting Protestants. The way Christians were labeled from the word go because they were associating with Christ. Christians. All right? All these are nicknames. It's not the people who labeled themselves that way. But God is not concerned about names. Concerned about you. All right? You want a person who, from the church they're coming from, and the church that Christians can date from any church, if the following conditions are fulfilled. They agree the life they will live after they get married. Which church they'll go to. Don't split. Don't say you go mine. Where will children go? Because eventually the man needs to take leadership of the family and to know what they are being fed, the influence they're receiving, where they are going. So they need to pick, they decide. Christians can marry from any church themselves, depending on if they can find harmony. But a Christian and non-Christian, even a Christian and non-believer, even a Christian, never. Doesn't work. And I always ask, those who tell me, if I marry somebody from another faith, I tell them, you never had any faith. If you had any, it would dictate. You wouldn't even consider. I always tell Christians to marry within the family. So that when problems come, you can go to the same father. You as a guy, when you're dating, don't start by asking the girl the church she goes to. You will eliminate good girls. Don't be petty. If she's Christian, believes God. From there, listen to her attitude, man. Some girls are very godly, and they come from churches you did not expect. Pentecostals think Catholics are not deep. You can find girls in Catholic who are more prayerful and godly than the ones who are in Pentecostal. Listen to a girl herself. There's a guy who married a girl from Catholic in our church, and I came from Deliverance those days. I asked my pastor, how come you approved her? He told me, the girl is godly, she's rooted, she doesn't mind joining the guy. In any case, you find that there's another guy from my place who married and they joined Catholic, the guy. Within Christendom, look at the person's godliness, the person's values, composure, maturity. Some Christians are fiery, but very immature. They don't brush their teeth. Their teeth stink. they have a bad smell. When you hug them, you have to hold your breath. Very safe, but very mature. Not everybody saved is safe to date. Some are very unsafe, although they are saved. They are saved from sin, but not yet saved from immaturity. And they use the Bible as escapism. They don't use their faith to heal the deficiencies of their life. They use their faith to hide. They quote Bible everywhere. You try to challenge them about anything, they quote the Bible and they say you are judging them. And I forbid you from using the word being judged. People say they're being judged to avoid being evaluated. Submit to evaluation every day. And you yourself evaluate people's choices and behaviors. Even if they say you're judging me, evaluate them. Before you evaluate, you can't make a selection. So you select after you evaluate. So when you're evaluating somebody, oh no, you're judging me. Don't say it that way. You know, nobody is perfect. Madness. Select, choose, evaluate, and make a decision. In fact, the Bible tells you to test every spirit, discern every spirit. And it comes to practical life, I told you, when you look at a lady, remember the responsibilities you are assuming. We were talking about the families we marry into. Put that for next week. Let me ask you, would you marry the president's daughter? I don't intend to connect you. Brahma, if today you marry Obama's family, into Obama's family, your life will change. Both for good and for bad. Because now you are a security concern. You must be protected. Being the son-in-law of the former president, you may be abducted by enemies of the former president and embarrass the country. Do you understand?
Yeah.
It matters where you marry into. If today you marry into a family that nobody saw past Form 4 except the girl you married, and they are not your dialect, and they can't speak Swahili, you have to learn their dialect to communicate. Have you heard, sometimes you marry a person and when they're talking on phone, you can only guess what is going on. You even keep yourself busy with the remote to avoid the boredom. One of these days, we should also delve into ethnicity, because we are living in a culture where ethnicity is a big thing.
It's a big thing, yeah.
But I tell them, you know, ethnicity is flimsy when you meet each other in UK. When two Kenyans meet in UK, they don't care about their ethnicity. They are happy to be Kenyans. Tribalism is very shallow. It's only important when you are here. When you meet two Kenyans in London, you take tea, but when in Kenya, you get it. It's very contextual. It's useless. Do you know the guys abroad don't know that most of our runners come from Rift Valley? They just know Kenyans run.
No.
They don't know which come from where. So ethnicity tribalism is a factor of immaturity, shallowness, and vanity.
Talking about vanity, Benjamin, if a brother wants to marry a sister from a different religion, both of them are Christians, you started by highlighting some of the considerations they need to be aware of. What other considerations do we need to put into practice before we say, yes, I do?
Different what?
Religions.
Religions or churches?
Churches. Yeah.
Religions, there is no consideration. Remember I said if you marry from another religion, you will be pulled away yourself. You'll be confused. Either that marriage will die, you'll have to give up the marriage or God. At some point, you will not be able to pray. The environment will be as dry as Fort Jesus in Mombasa because it's tourist, it's not spiritual. Your prayer will look awkward, your answers will look awkward, you answer awkward, everything, at some point, everything will be obnoxious. Don't be unequally yoked with unbelievers. All right? Actually, everybody who is believing God, God simply calls them unbelievers. It's you who take too much time to categorize them. Atheists, agnostics, questioning, Don't waste your time. Just follow the Bible's view. Either you belong to the family of God or you don't. All right?
Okay.
So if you marry from different churches, I've told you one major consideration is where shall we go after we get married? These other things I left them because as you converse, they should fall in place. But let's also mention them for those who are hard of hearing.
Yeah.
Just the manner of prayer. A person who doesn't believe in prayer, they can have the name of Christianity, but they don't pray. Eventually, you'll outgrow them because you are talking to God frequently. They are not. Prayer is about talking to God, conversation with God. The more you talk to Brahma, the more you know Brahma.
Yeah.
A person who doesn't talk to Brahma will know Brahma exists, but they don't have a strong bond. They don't know each other too much. That's if you want to simplify prayer, go that direction. Conversations with God, like a friend, like a father, a person you're doing journey with. Listening to him, hearing. It's interaction. The interaction with God goes on every day, through the day, through thoughts, through remembering, thanking him for things he's doing, you know him directing you. But the conversations happen in that daily routine of prayer. Jesus would go to the Mount of Olives. You also need to have your Mount of Olives. time. Just follow the Bible's view. Either you belong to the family of God or you don't. All right?
Okay.
So if you marry from different churches, I've told you one major consideration is where shall we go after we get married?
Mm-hmm.
These other things, I left them because as you converse, they should fall in place.
Mm-hmm.
But let's also mention them for those who are hard of hearing.
Yeah.
Just the manner of prayer. A person who doesn't believe in prayer, they can have the name of Christianity, but they don't pray.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, you'll outgrow them because you are talking to God frequently. They are not. Prayer is about talking to God, conversation with God. The more you talk to Brahma, the more you know Brahma.
Yeah.
A person who doesn't talk to Brahma will know Brahma exists, but they don't have a strong bond. They don't know each other too much.
Mm-hmm.
That's, if you want to simplify prayer, go that direction. Conversations with God, like a friend, like a father,
Mm-hmm.
a person you're doing journey with. Listening to him, hearing. It's interaction. The interaction with God goes on every day, through the day, through thoughts, through remembering, thanking him for things he's doing, you know, him directing you. But the conversations happen in that daily routine of prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus would go to the Mount of Olives. You also need to have your Mount of Olives. If you don't have, you are a stranger to God.
Mm-hmm.
Stop giving yourself big names. People like imagining they are Christian. And you know, because there is nobody scoring.
Mm-hmm.
Christianity is an opinion. Nobody can tell, no, you're not a Christian. That's it. They just ask you, what is your religion? You feel, you tick. But nobody evaluates it. Mm-hmm. So don't trust what people tell you about themselves. Observe the behavior.
Mm-hmm.
That is a seed. It should bear fruit. Look for the fruit.
Okay.
In fact, and I warned you the other day that when you marry fiery sisters, when you date sisters on fire, don't be carried away by what? Charisma. Talent, the voice, the energy. Oh, that is a share. Container. Look for the content.
Mm-hmm.
Look for how solid she is. Do you know, I told you, if you look for a peaceful sister, you never go wrong.
Okay.
Many of those on fire, they're very disturbed.
Mm-hmm.
They're very unstable. If you chat about other topics, she flares up quickly, gets angry, impatient, judgmental, sycophantic. Don't marry a sycophant, brother.
Mm-hmm.
They believe the man of God or the leader so much you have no voice. In fact, one easier way. Can I tell you what? An easier way to check whether she's malleable? And don't tell them I told you. Ask them whether they're willing to leave their church after you marry, mm-hmm. you guys to go to another church, neither mine nor yours, another one. Mm-hmm. Did you get what I said?
Yeah.
Tell her, don't join mine, I won't join yours. We marry, we go to another one. If she says, no, also you leave. She's a sycophant. She attaches her God to the church. Mm-hmm. And actually they will tell you, yeah, actually that's a good idea, we start afresh. Or you bring it differently. What if we move to another town? Can you just look for another church? Yeah. You want a woman who submits to your leadership, bro. Mm-hmm. As long as you're not removing her from God and stopping her from worshiping. She will say, Sarah used to call Abraham my Lord.
Yeah.
You want a lady who has a natural submission. And remember what I told you. There are women who are at war with men and they hate the word submission. They hate it. They don't know why they should submit to who. They are at war like this. They're looking. They're waiting for somebody to say me. They're trigger happy. You know, I did a post the other day saying that, you know, a woman is still feminine, secure and stable if she's still able to smile.
Yeah.
They fought. They shouted. Now another feminist says, sometimes I leave my posts hanging that way to allow people to interpret how they want. Because if I keep adding details of context and all that, it will become too long.
Yeah.
But those who follow my teaching know what I'm saying. But those who are coming from all the just one, and you know, the last time I checked, that thing is almost 500 shares so far. People like hanging things because they're debatable. Debatable. It's okay. It's okay when people argue about you. Yeah. What I was saying was, you want a lady who is still soft. Bro, don't marry a tough woman.
Don't marry a tough woman.
You should be the tough one.
Yeah.
You open the door at night when the dog is barking. You confront the things of life. Protect your woman and your children. I'm not saying we keep them too sheltered from life, but it's the man who is supposed to confront the tough situations of life. Your woman is supposed to be tender, happy, keep her protected. But there are women who have forgotten. Duties of life have forced them to be hard, to go at hard, to look for money, feed their family. I told them, those roles that invite you to play the role, the man, the leader, the father and mother and everything, let them remain roles. Don't let them change who you are. Don't say, I no longer laugh. There's nothing funny in life. Don't marry a person who's saying that. You want, women dictate atmosphere at home.
Yeah.
Even if you are happy and your woman is sulky, that home will never be happy. But if a guy is never happy, the woman can simply and their children cheer themselves up. You have noticed that? A happy woman and an unhappy man, the home will be generally happier. So a woman is up at home at more times. They can just be happy, that setting. But if a woman is attitude beaten, bitter, and mean and at war, that will be the environment at home. And these women you hear making so much noise because they are projecting their frustrations at life. They wanted to look for money and they thought money would give them happiness. They got the money and the money did not bring happiness. Money can be cold.
Yeah.
Money does not have human warmth. Human warmth cannot be bought. If you have sex with a person with whom you don't have true love, the sex is also mechanical. It does not have the feeling. There are some things God made and you cannot counterfeit them. You can keep trying, but you won't.
And talking about counterfeit, Benjamin, you've put it so well. I'm supposed to be the hard one as a man. I'm supposed to rise up to the occasion. Remember in my introduction I talked about responsibility.
Exactly.
So as a man, my woman would be looking at me to rise to the occasion even in the spiritual matters.
Exactly.
Right? Now what happens when a lady finds a guy who is spiritually dead? He's not there.
Don't marry him. God told you your desire in Genesis 3:16 to 18 there. Your desire shall be for your man and he shall rule you. Shall rule over you, your husband shall rule over you. Now that he shall rule over you, can you pick a godly ruler, please?
Okay.
Women err. They go wrong at the point of selection. Because they select with their clothes off. Go to have sex and get pregnant and move in. The maddest way to get married. Evaluate whether this man is a good leader, good mentor, whether you would have looked up to him spiritually otherwise. The easiest way for girls to choose a man who challenges you, who is worth the following, whom your daughter will be proud to call dad. Your children can't choose their father, their mother, you can. Bramwell is desire for shortcuts. It's because we are tired of searching. It's because we don't know what, it's because we are impatient. That's why we rush to compromise. And we hope things will iron themselves out. In life, things don't wind up, they wind down. If you let things on their own, they go downwards. That's the rule.
And talking about downwards, we've seen a scenario where, Benjamin, people compromised at the selection stage, as you're saying. They failed to talk about these faith matters you're talking about. So maybe a guy sat there said, for as long as she's not insulting my church, I'm not insulting her church, we are good to go. We shall live together, but we can go to different churches.
But what you're learning in church is affecting your life in the house. Some churches' doctrines are incompatible. There are some churches that teach unquestioned loyalty. There are people who are bootlickers to their church leaders. Remember I told you, after you get married, retire all parental figures, all authority figures. You and your wife become one. The Bible told you to leave father and mother. Sometimes father and mother is not biological. It's whoever you're playing that father and mother role. Sometimes it's your pastor. Sometimes it's whoever, the mentor. Leave them. Now cleave to your wife. And now start building your own life. That's what I always recommend. Don't stay in a place where people, they know too much of your past. They're trying to drag you back there. So even if you are going to, you are said you are allowing each other, your thinking differs. I strongly encourage, as a man more so, ask her whether she's willing to join you. Or join another church, both of you, after you get married. Because you have, remember I told you, your faith, your relationship with God.
Yeah.
church is facilitating that relationship, it is not the source.
It is not the source. And a scenario whereby the guys who are meeting these fiery, the sisters that you, you are describing, they are adamant to leave their churches to join the guy. So they are demanding the guy to leave his church to join them.
What else will she be adamant about? Just ask yourself. Just ask yourself. Let me teach you character analysis.
We are away from philosophy now, character analysis.
This is psychology. If she's refusing this one thing to join you, what else will she refuse? To move houses, to transfer children to another school, to transfer to a different job, for you to buy another fridge, for you to change the car. She will refuse many other things, brother. What you see is what you will get. Don't even look for ways to twist until she accepts. Will you be doing that throughout life? If a lady shows non-cooperation, bro, run. And let me remind you something. If you marry a stubborn, weaker woman, she will control the pace of the relationship. If you tie a Mercedes-Benz to a tuk-tuk, who controls the pace? Tuk-tuk. The tuk-tuk. Because the slower vehicle cannot speed up to catch up with the faster one.
Yes.
It's the faster one that must slow down
to catch up with this.
You who thinks higher must slow down to her level. She cannot elevate to your level. Always be equally yoked, not just spiritually, intellectually.
Okay.
How easy, how you can find harmony. In fact, one is a way to know whether a woman is obedient. Go for shopping with her, especially clothes, because they are very selective with clothes and shoes. Accompany her and give an opinion that is rather weird. This is a simple test, my brother. This one will not cost you a fortune. She has chosen this shoe. Prefer another rather awkward looking. And recommend that. And act sincere. You need to learn how to act, my brother. I'm teaching you some techniques. Act. This is very good. But it's a yellow one with a polka dots or green. She might turn down your request, but the attitude, how she responds to your suggestion, that's what you're looking for. She doesn't like it totally. It's not anything to do that. But she'll say, oh, you like this one? Tell me, how do you like it? So she wants to hear more where you are thinking from. That's the right woman. The one who tells you, and you have no sense of taste. What's wrong with you? I keep teaching you and you don't even understand. No, you're about to shame me. What is this you're asking me to buy? Expect that attitude in every other area of life. I dated one girl who told me on those kind of conversations. So we differ, and she told me she will cane me the way she canes her students. By the time a lady imagines caning you, she may not do it, but the violent opinion. You must learn to pick nuances. These small nuances are the telltale. Those ladies who you hear they came to hurt the man, they killed him, she had the signs. The guy overlooked them. So, don't just say she's prayerful. You're not going to form an intercessory team. You're looking for a wife, my brother. Prayerful is good, but can we also check elsewhere? What is she also? Can I warn you about spendthrift women who must buy by impulse and their counterparts are bargain demons?